It's because just before I had to crack a joke. Hi, community.
We got perfect timing on this. So we're live right now. Eric, welcome back again. Will,
thank you.
We've got some awesome. So for me, this is true like FOMO material. This was something that I just saw within like the backend group. I got invited, by the way, to the engineering group. I know we talked about that a few times, like on past shows, but now I'm finally actually in there, and I see all like the backend information that's going on. And Will, you had basically mentioned something, in my opinion, that's like literally the definition of this show beyond FOMO, where I'm going to actually have you explain it.
Sure, yeah.
But on that note, I do want, for those that are tuning in, to, if you have not watched last week's episode, go watch that. We did talk about FAIT with her free, freemium, and premium type services. And now that Eric is here today, we're also going to talk a little bit about upLink and this huge, I'm using the word bridge. We could say connection. And to me, this is amazing. So before we begin, though, disclaimer.
That's probably smart. Yeah.
All right. Not a bad idea.
We'll see you guys in a bit. All right, back. Will, I'm going to let you kind of set the tone on this one because I don't know how much you want out there.
So, well, this is a big deal. I mean, we've kind of been flirting with this idea for a long time, which is,
I would say so. Yeah.
You know, we know a lot of the value that people get out of Flourishing AI is informational value. And we've built this huge infrastructure around data crunching a whole bunch of stuff to distill it down into like actionable items for regular people. And that's actually quite difficult. Of course, we have the whole trading engine and portfolio management as well that acts on that data, right? But we have found over time, over the past year, that we've had a lot of this stuff kind of in the public, that, you know, our audience size for the informational aspect is like over 250,000 people versus the number of people using FAIT to actually manage money is way, way, way smaller than that, and multiple orders of magnitude smaller than that. So this indicated to us that we have built something of real value, but it wasn't what we expected originally. And we think that it comes down to that people have a lot of difficulty giving their control up to actually manage their money to a third party.
Psychological aspect.
Like being informed, right? People love to be informed. They want to make informed decisions. So I think that a lot of the value is around that, right? Of course, we offer both products, but this whole time we've been offering the whole informational aspect for free, and it's wildly popular, very viral, all this stuff. And as you guys know, now we have this product, upLink, that is an on-ramp to crypto and an on-ramp to people's tokens specifically. And this is a really unique product that the past few weeks has really accelerated people using it, which we've found very cool. So take a step back.
And guys, if I may, real quick, Will, community, when you hear Will say, you know, we have this amazing project that provides two benefits. One is more niche around, sort of, auto trading around, in AI. The second is informational services around that is also produced by FAIT. Because if you think about it, FAIT produces just a litany of information to do all the trading, right? And so what we're finding is there's a lot broader audience with the information. So when Will says we're providing it for free, here's what I want you to think about. For those of you who are holding the AI token, he's concerned that we are providing all that information and it is not providing value to the AI token. So think about it that way. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to sort of create that link.
We've created this token, right? And for the longest time, people are like, what are the utility of the token, right?
Right.
And, this bear market, has spurred many conversations internally to our company about, building a company of real value that's robust to different markets, and how you value a company and how you carve out, hype and marketing versus having a company with a sustainable model that is not a Ponzi scheme, right? And that's actually difficult to do. I believe we've solved all of these problems.
Yeah.
So, and tied it into AI as a utility. So the way we're going to do it, let me back up. So a little backstory here. About 13 years ago, I started a company called Ruby Coins. And it was, I think we talked about this in a previous episode, similar concept, but it was before crypto existed, right? People needed
even before PayPal kind of existed
for online games.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Even before PayPal, majority of
Or
the
for
services.
those of you who play Fortnite, right? It's V-Bucks before V-Bucks was a thing.
Mm-hmm. So there was this, we had this concept of eBay at the time. PayPal existed, but it was nothing like it is now.
Basic.
And that was it. Like people's, nobody really shopped online. What was needed at the time was there was all these early era online games that they couldn't make money at all. Like you would make a game, you'd put all this effort into a game, assemble a team, you're paying people's wages to make assets and code and all this stuff. And then you would put it on a website and then there was no way to make money off it. The only way to make money off of games was to sell them in a store. Can you imagine that? Put in a box, you have to do box art, all that stuff, right?
And then you have to put it on GameStop shelves.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about GameStop anymore.
Not in that way.
Meme matching.
So anyway, so I invented this system that allowed people to pay with their credit card and it would link to an online game and then figure out, should I deliver them this in-game item because they paid me some amount of money, right? And it was all connected together. So uplink is basically that same idea all over again, but powered by the blockchain this time, right? So till now, it's been entirely for conversion of currencies where I'm paying you dollars, you give me crypto, right? And so it's an ATM model basically. But the market that's not addressed is the more interesting one, which connects to the utility of all of these tokens. What you need to do is you create an interface that allows people that when they buy this token in a certain way, maybe a certain amount, or they send it to a certain address or something like that, that it then calls back to the company that offers that token and says, hey, this user has made this purchase. It's up to you if you want to deliver them something. And that gives them the power to create utility from that token where because this person has purchased this token, we're going to give them a product or a service. And that is a very, very important thing. That is a generic way to add utility to any token.
I don't think that, from my experience, that something like that exists.
It doesn't. It doesn't exist.
Because when you're getting tokens, where are you getting them from? You're getting them from the DEX, the exchange, but not from that. Not like a peer-to-peer type deal where you're face-to-face or you're doing like a deal like that. But from a merchant or business perspective or project perspective, that's getting interesting. Okay, I'm getting excited now.
Two camps, right? There's two camps here. There is all the people in crypto which generally think of these coins and tokens as currencies, right? And there's all these people in the game industry like Microsoft points and Steam credits and all these types of things that they have a concept of a virtual currency, but it's not on the blockchain, but it's used to deliver in-game items and in-system items, right? These two things are not separate things. They are the same thing. It's just that these people are not thinking that it's connected, but it really is. It's really the same thing.
So what you're saying is that a token or credit card points, video game points, which are still virtual currencies or points,
Money.
and then you have crypto, which is either a security or with an attorney's recommendation, it could then be a utility. So if you have the security option, it's a security. But if the attorney's opinion is saying that this is a token, whether or not that's validated or not, now that's a token, which is then the same thing as a point or other virtual currency.
Yes.
But they're treating it still like crypto, even though it's a utility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Isn't
There's
that
two differences to consider here.
part,
really, yeah. The only two differences between these two worlds to bring them together is that on one side of the camp you have price control, right? And on the other side of the camp, you have trackability, right, through the blockchain. So you bring them, just bring it together. You add trackability to the virtual currency, and you add price control to the other side, and now you have the ultimate system. You have the ultimate system, and we're building that with upLink. We're almost done, actually. This has been the focus internally for a while, and it's been under wraps. But FAIT is going to be the first client to use this new system.
It's like, I love it.
And how it's going to work. Okay, so we realize that a lot of the value of FAIT is informational, right? We're going to have two tiers, right? Public free tier, you get a taste of it. And then the premium tier. So to get to the premium tier, you're going to be able to buy and burn AI through upLink, and then it will deliver you the premium tier of FAIT informational services. This is transformational. Like, this process, this business model is transformational, and it's scalable to any business. It's scalable to like infinite number of transactions. It's fully trackable. It's the best of everything. It's the best of both worlds. This is what we're building.
I'm hoping everybody has the creativity, imagination to put it all into play and see where this is kind of going. When I first saw the message in there, I was like, this is going to be intense.
I said it in a really nerdy way.
Yeah,
I know when I tried to explain it before, and I wasn't sure if I was just like explaining it right. So I had to sit on it. Like, how would I kind of explain this in a regular way?
So I guess one big thing, I like to take things back. So let me dumb it down tenfold. There are payment processors out there, right? Or we'll use PayPal as an example, right?
There's payment processors. They don't work with virtual currencies, or they don't deliver products, or they don't allow you to connect a custom token to them. They all have major fundamental drawbacks in different ways. None of them do all of it.
Okay. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. Let's just say I have go-karts. We got go-karts for sale, right? And I say I want to accept AI for that. So I would be able to have because I would kind of want to get it. It's not really e-commerce. That's not what we're saying, right? It's more just
It's related. Blockchain. Yeah, it's related to e-commerce. It kind of brings the worlds together, right?
Right. That's the key.
Okay.
The key is that there was a missing linkage between these kind of two worlds, right? There's an e-commerce world that is all about creating products and delivering products. They have a cost of manufacture, and then cost of customer acquisition, and then they sell the product for more than that, and then the net is their revenue, right? And that's their whole model, right? That is e-commerce.
Yeah, I'm thinking
there's a whole other camp around currencies and forex style trading, right? And blockchain and crypto and all that stuff, right? And we all know how that works, right?
I think a better example is not like of a physical item, although if that could be done, that's cool. But I'm thinking more like digital items, right? And especially within, as we were talking about before, like the metaverse and the gaming environments, where something like upLink can be implemented into that, right? something like that. So I could go in there, for example, uplink is there. Basically, if there's different NFTs for like features or to like build your character or whatever it is, just as you did with Ruby, right? So it's the same thing.
Yep.
You just go in there and you buy everything, and then you receive that item from there.
Yeah,
that's how I'm putting it together.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned NFTs. This is not competitive with NFTs. This actually facilitates NFT delivery, if anything. So it's complementary in a big way.
Well, it's huge because, aside from like chargebacks and everything, but a lot of times with NFTs in particular, you have these marketplaces that are primarily the only places where you can get the NFTs, right? If somebody actually puts them up for sale. But to not have them publicly available to just buy, because you have to get it in their ecosystem and be more involved in that, is what's missing. That's what I'm pointing out. That's like the next. I think that's actually probably the biggest freaking thing to hit, like the metaverse field.
Think about this.
Real time right now. So yeah.
Think about combining things as well, right? So you have Metaverse A and Metaverse B, right? If you happen to have, properties in both, maybe you get an additional benefit that is provided by both projects, right? This would enable that pretty quickly.
Damn. I'm actually really thinking about all these metaverse projects that are out there, and the way that I see that they're generating revenue, I guess, is I just see NFTs. Like, dude, there was the whole NFT hype. We were all there. We saw it. But I still feel like with the metaverse, that's all that they still have is like just NFTs. Here's our NFT. Here's our NFT. And so Will, and Eric, so just think about like your experience with the whole gaming environment, all that, and business. There are reports out there, fact, that cool NFT metaverses exist, but a lot of people aren't participating in them. Right? A lot of people have the VR goggles. It's cool. You try it on for 10 minutes. You're like, wow, this is awesome. And then life goes on. Now you're doing something else. Right? So the goggles are collecting dust. Another metaverse thing comes along. Let me check this out. Cool. You're out. What's keeping them in? Right?
Right.
And that's where these in-game features and the collaborations and all this stuff pulls people in. It keeps them in. So by having the ability to buy and do all this stuff within the metaverse, I've yet to truly see one that has all those types of functionalities. And perhaps, again, that's because they're missing something like this, or the ability to offer their users or gamers, businesses, something like this.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
And even, you stepped back, I noticed, from the idea of a physical good, right?
Yeah.
Let me run through this scenario. Let's say I wanted to sell Will's custom electric go-karts, right? And tie it into a token, right? What I would do is I would create a token, a fair launch token, right? You just basically mint the token, put it on the blockchain.
Sure. This is honestly, my mind is going so crazy right now just thinking about what, because this show we were going live. Sorry to cut you off, but like this to me is like if you're not understanding of the definition of FOMO, the fear of missing out, and understanding what we're talking about, like this is freaking huge right here. Like think about all these metaverse projects that exist that are constantly just out there promoting their own NFT and doing all this stuff. That's because they don't have a choice, actually. Like that's the only way that they can actually sell their stuff is by doing that.
Correct.
I haven't seen one that says come in here to actually then get this or buy this. You have to come into.
You need to create real value. Otherwise, like we were saying a few episodes ago, ultimately it's insane. It topples over, right? It's a house of cards otherwise if you don't have real value. If you're only like path forward is just let's market and get a whole bunch of buying frenzy, eventually that just falls apart because there's nothing underpinning creating actual revenue for your company other than just a new wave of people coming in, right? You don't want to be dependent on that.
No. All right, continue the go-kart. So you're going to do a fair launch. Yeah. So you're
Okay,
gonna
let's say I wanted to sell a real
Go-kart
product.
launch.
Yes.
Let's say it cost me $1,000 to make this go-kart, right? What I want to do is sell it for more than that. So you create a token, a fair launch token, where you reserve a certain amount of your fixed supply for yourself. The rest of the fixed supply, you create a pancake swap market for, right? A pool on pancake swap. Then you connect it to uplink, sell the go-kart for through uplink more than the cost, right? And then take the portion that is the revenue portion, right, to buy and burn that token. So what is the net effect of that, right? You get paid out for the cost it costs you to make that cart immediately, right? The rest of it is deleting supply of that token that you have a fair launch from over time. Every sale deletes supply, so the price has to go up. And because you, as the founder of that company, have a large stake of those tokens, that means the value of those tokens goes up, right? So this is basic tokenomics, right?
Okay.
So what can you do? I mean, ultimately, then you sell into the price going up, and then you're able to recover more money than if you had just sold that for the net revenue, just straight up, right? Does that make sense?
I get
So
it.
you've done a little bit of speculation, right, involving a token and uplink and burning, but that's allowed you to basically make more money than you would have done if you had just sold it for the cost of manufacturing plus that revenue amount originally, just in cash.
Okay. My mind's still on the whole metaverse part. That's it. I think that's where it's really going to be at. We just brought up go-karts.
I know it's
what
a lot
everybody
that
in
you
the
Yeah,
AI group.
that's
wants
what
you
I'm
to do.
excited about. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Everybody in the AI group constantly wants you to make an AI powered go-kart. So maybe
that's how you
one
do
day
it. I
in
mean,
the future
maybe I
we can
should
do
do
it.
that, honestly.
That's the
start
next
a go-kart
project.
company
Why
connected to uplink.
You could do that, and that's how could possibly then launch on Ethereum. All proceeds and plus the go-kart go towards Ethereum liquidity, something like that.
If you invest
Interesting
X in
marketing.
AI, I'll give you a free go-kart. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm still wrapping my head about, and I feel like a lot of people, myself, I really didn't think about this, but the metaverse now, it's cool. You go in there, networking, there's events, you could buy virtual properties, there's the investment, there's the asset version of that. But like what else? Right? I mean, there's going to be like hundreds of these metaverses, and you only have 24 hours in a day. You're not going to be going into like 50 of them per day, right? You're going to be going nuts.
Mhm.
So eventually, there's got to be a few of them that are obviously going to be like the main ones that have a larger community. But the way that they retain that and the way that they grow is by having that full ecosystem. So if people aren't in there able to buy things or to do things, what's the point of that metaverse then, aside from being like, this is cool to be in?
Yeah, I consider
That's the right
metaverses
question to
kind of
ask.
like starting a garden where you have like a seed pack and you have a whole bunch of seeds. Just kind of toss them all in there and like, well, some of them won't make it, some of them will make it, some of them will be really awesome, and you just have to wait and see what pans out.
Okay. I do like the fact with FAIT, just to go back, just to do like a full circle. I still like the other option though. So free, right? And then freemium. So we'll give you a little bit more, or maybe like a little bit of a trial, and then premium, right? And then a premium, obviously, that's when you then need the AI tokens. You have to go through uplink, which I think is an amazing multi-faceted utility aspect of holding
it
AI and
exposes
using it.
people to uplink. It reduces AI supply. It burns tokens. Like it's everything, right? Everything's connected together.
So there's one other part though you didn't talk about, and we could maybe sneak this in. It's up to you, but perhaps something community oriented or private or you want to get into that?
I suppose we could get a little bit into it.
Okay. And we could go into some market talk for a bit, or Eric, if you want to give an update with uplink.
Okay, what are we doing first?
I like the community part. I like that part.
Let's follow that community thread. I think that's interesting as well.
Okay.
Community, private, community, premium, access.
Yeah. So the premium. My mind's going a bunch of different directions right now.
I just knocked him in the face with that one. He was not ready for that.
Yeah. So the idea is really to have a VIP community that has access to me, honestly, as well as sharing of knowledge and things like that.
So just think of like a Patreon, right? So you have a Patreon, you have a Discord group, any private membership group that's out there. You guys have you guys literally have the knowledge, the experience. Not to say others don't, but I mean, you guys are always here. You're always available. You're always helping out, and there is value to that. I appreciate all the time that you guys have just to be on the show. But for those that want to be like, Will, what do you think about BTC, to get your opinion? Eric, what do you think about this project or this? I have said this multiple times. This should be private premium access. So for you guys to then create that and then put it behind uplink and require AI, right, to then get access to that, to me, that's huge. And that's also actually not going to just be limited to you. I mean, couldn't you actually offer that to other influencers or other people that have private communities?
Exactly right. Right.
And
so
we support already the idea of affiliate links with uplink, right? And we also have the referral fee thing going on. I'm going to keep mentioning this over and over again, that if you refer a project to uplink and we get them live, you will get 10% of the setup cost. So that's real. Go reach out.
We're working on it. Yeah. All right, Eric, what were you saying?
Oh, I was about to go in the same direction, right? So it's something that you can do to put some crypto in your pocket, or money in your pocket, whatever you want to, pick your metaphor. The other side of it is that, I mean, we're going to offer all of these services through uplink, right? And it's not just us, right? I think you mentioned that, Jason, earlier. You're absolutely right. So if you're looking to gate different features in games, so for example, if you're creating a metaverse and you're creating different tiers, right? One example might be, we've had a lot of space themed metaverses, right, on uplink and on this show over the last, couple of weeks, month, 2 months, and so on, right? So think of it as access to different worlds within that metaverse, right? You can provide that through uplink selectively. So there's lots of different capabilities here, right? And
oh my God!
By providing it selectively, exactly. So think of it this way: if you've got a metaverse of people that are into automobiles, like I'm a big car fan, Formula One fan. For those of you who know me and talk to me, right? Huge into that, right? So maybe there's a community around Formula One. Maybe there's one around NASCAR. Maybe there's one around riding Harleys and so on, right? So you can selectively grant access. It's a little bit like what's that middleware that most projects use? Oh, it starts with a Z, Jason. It's
Zapier.
Zapier. That's it. It almost becomes something like that for those of you who are in the IT space. You're actually providing access to different services and different benefits selectively based on where somebody's purchasing in terms of tiers, right? So that starts to get really interesting, I think.
I just thought of something, another thing that could be of interest, but all these metaverses that are kind of like popping up, right? Is there I know that there's bridges, right? So you go from one chain to another.
Right.
But has anybody ever actually created like a bridge to be like, I want to go from sand to like network, or like, does that make sense? Like you want to go from one metaverse to another and have that like connection?
I've heard people talking about something like that, where because metaverses are on the blockchain, that they can reach in and see other like NFTs and items in other metaverses. And there's some interesting stuff you can do. This is one of the cool things about blockchain. right? That you couldn't do before.
I'm just thinking being able to go from one to the other like fluidly, not having to then go out
Seamlessly.
and buy that other token now just to get into there, like doing all this other stuff. So that's what I'm getting at. Something with uplink could be interconnected. It basically whatever uplink is connected to, that person could just go in and out seamlessly.
Yeah. Yeah, the closest thing to it would be to find some kind of exchanger, cross bridge exchanger to go from, in that case, Sand to, let's pick a game in the news, Axie Infinity, right? So you can go from Sand to AXS on one of these sort of token swap platforms, but there's nothing like what you're talking about, Jason. No, I don't believe it exists. At least if it exists, I don't know about it, right? So if you know about it and we don't, drop it in the comments because we'd love to find out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious to know about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about like
exist.
the NFT. I'm talking about like full blown like interaction. Because a lot of them require you to have an NFT to like get access and whatnot. But once they start utilizing their own token and having utility behind that's going to be independent to themselves. So they're that's isolated.
You'd have to create something almost like login with Google, right? For
Something like that.
regular web services, something like that.
Exactly.
Where you're able to
get that with
cross
uplink.
into a portal from one world into another, right? But it has to be that seamless. Like your identity has to follow you, right? That's tricky because there is no standard identity, rubric, right?
As
Of now, right? One thing that you could do is you could turn that into an NFT. So it becomes an identity NFT that is portable across lots of these different worlds. There's a bit of it kind of works against the metaverse though, because each metaverse may want to provide its own NFT for access, right? So if you've got this Uber pass or this skeleton key, across these different worlds, and then so does that skeleton key give you the ability to just swap? Does it give you access? This is kind of like an all-in-one, buy one NFT, get access to X number of worlds. All of that stuff.
That's what I'm getting at. That's like
that becomes really interesting because it starts to become like the Netflix of metaverses, right? You sort of pay one fee or you buy one NFT or whatever the case may be, and you get access to a series of worlds, right?
That's like
and maybe it's just the starter world in each one of them, right? So there's lots of interesting things you can do, and uplink can power all of that, which is what I'm really excited about, right? So again, I'm with you. I actually think all the action is going to be in the metaverse space over the next couple of months, probably years.
Damn. I know Will is probably, his mind's going nuts right now too. Aside from that,
I'm always thinking about stuff.
Right? Just think about, go back to what we were saying before, when PayPal was just basic, right? And games didn't have the ability to do in-game purchases or anything. But then once you came out with your own technology, so with Ruby, right? You did that. Imagine being able to go from one game like to another, right? Like fluid.
Yeah. I like the idea of like,
it's pretty cool.
A lot of these metaverses, they're all kind of open worlds, right? But they all have different art styles. And I just was down in this idea of thought where you could have an NPC in one game that walks into another world in a different game. Yeah, but that would require you to have the NPCs themselves exist on the blockchain. Right. And then each world would read that NPC's data on the blockchain, and then they could walk in one game into a different game, and it'd be the same character.
That's what I'm getting at.
Isn't that
would
crazy?
That's what I'm getting at. To have that fluidity would be sick.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be super cool. Dude, if I was still in the game industry, I would make that. You kidding me? That'd be fun.
I think that's going to be, we just gave somebody like a killer multi-million-dollar idea right there.
Well, what you would do, I think, is you would create a standard similar to the standard for NFTs, right? That's EIP 1551, I think, I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it the one? Yeah, so you would need a standard. It's like, okay, if your smart contract looks like this, then this is an NPC. We define this as the template of an NPC. And then so you derive from this NPC smart contract, for your game. But every NPC has these properties. It's health, defense, location, things like that. right? And
why
that
even
way,
limit it to
any
NPCs?
game, any token could sit there, like use this NPC, and they could go around, to different places. But that would be super cool.
You don't even have to limit it to NPCs. Think of it as, boss fights, right? You can actually have the same fight in different metaverses. You can have the same items and so on, right? So somebody can create an item as long as they fall within certain parameters and whatnot. That could start getting interesting. The counterbalance there has to be, balancing game economics. But anyway, I'm getting way too deep into the
I like it.
the game development.
It's
Like
almost
this
we've been in
this
the
is
game
going super
industry.
pedantic at this point,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean?
Okay, we're starting to geek out. Yeah.
We started 20 minutes ago.
All right. So private community, that part's going to be awesome. And you had mentioned FAIT is going to be basically the first
customer of this method of uplink, which is almost done. I was literally working on it this morning, so it's really close.
Okay.
It's really close.
Very cool. So Trevor, by the way, I'm looking at it. It's not exactly kind of what we're talking about. I think with what we're talking about, it's more in depth than just that. But also having the ability to, with uplink, again, just going back, if you've missed it, to buy things and to be fully immersed into the game. So it's not just going in and out. It's actively being engaged and getting involved in each metaverse.
But you need, like I said, you would need a standard that says every NPC has at least these properties, so that every game has kind of a standard protocol of communicating and understanding what it is. That's all you need to do. That's why all these standards on ERC exist, right? ERC 20, ERC 721, all this stuff.
True.
It's exactly for that purpose.
I'm still also backed on just using, say, like a virtual ATM machine, or actually just even like the metaverse in general. Like going into, like you're going to go into a bar in the metaverse, right? And they're going to have drinks there. Those drinks would be an NFT, right? But as of now, you would have to go out and go to like OpenSea or another platform to buy the NFT to say like you had a drink. But imagine being able to go in there and then use something like uplink to then actually get that like in real time, right? Like you're buying it internally within the game.
Yeah, you remember when we had Outer
You don't
Ring
have
on
to leave
here,
the game.
where they were talking about this idea
Yeah.
where in Outer Ring, they wanted to make it where if you bought something in their metaverse, that it would have physical delivery. And I think it's a really cool idea. And I think it could work.
So
But
like
there's
Eric,
a lot of like supply chain related stuff you have to solve for that,
so
honestly.
like Eric,
And I don't want to give it away, but like hold that thought for next week, because we're going to talk about a new uplink partner coming on board next week that is going to sort of follow the same thread. So won't ruin it. Just stay tuned. Next week, it'll be a fun one.
what I want to see is a metaverse with either go-karts or like an F1 experience where you have to then pay to like get into the vehicle to get like the pass by using uplink to then sit in the car and then like race. I want that to happen. I'm going to put that out in the universe. I want that.
You know what I'd
That's
love to
gonna be
do?
cool. And watch
Go to
the
a
AI get
Formula
burned,
One
by the way.
race. Yeah. Go to a Formula One race. Get a Lamborghini Huracan in the game. Go to 2, get that plus a Ferrari, 458 California plus a Porsche Taycan. Here you go. Like you have just these, you're tying activities in the real world to benefits in the metaverse. That's huge. And it's not something that is completely new ground either. I mean, back in the day, for those of you who came in from the gaming industry, companies like Zynga, pioneeered that. I mean, they were doing it in really small ways. Like buy a Slurpee at 7-Eleven, you get a cow in the game or something stupid, something silly like that.
Remember those?
But yeah.
Yeah, we live in an augmented world now where it's part digital, part real. And it's just going to get more and more and more integrated together as time goes on.
Yeah, I think it's still just the start. Yeah.
It's not VR that's going to be hot. It's AR that's going to be hot. It's this digital sort of layer on top of reality. that really sort of enhances your experience, right? So the Google Glass Pearls, remember these like glasses? Remember, Will, how in Silicon Valley these people were wearing these Google Glass and people called
We used to call them glass holes, remember?
I was about to say we called them glass holes.
I didn't know if they actually released those. I thought those were just like prototypes.
Oh,
and
they
stuff.
had them. There was people walking around
It was
in
a tech
the valley
toy,
with them.
and a bunch of them went on eBay, and you know what I mean. And they had the right idea. They implemented it in the worst possible way, but they had the right idea, right? And maybe it was a little bit too early. So.
Well, it was also like a privacy concern, right? So you could look at
Yeah.
somebody and like get all their information just by looking at them. Like that was a serious privacy violation, honestly.
Imagine that Tinder plugin.
Damn, yeah. You could see their star rating when you're at the date.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, damn, there's 1 star right here. I gotta leave.
Yeah.
Or any public record, right? You look at somebody and say, "Oh, he's actually has a warrant out for this guy."
Yeah, that's fun.
Person has a criminal history, things like that. Like it's.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Turn everybody into Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Damn. All right. Just cognizant of the time. Uplink, you had given us a little preview, so next week there will be some more information on that. There is one thing that I do want to put some light on, and that is Uplink in itself and the increase of engagement and user rate, right? So you guys have seen like a huge uptick in actual use. So this is good. This is like the start. And I might say, might also add that we have yet to really start like any real form of like marketing. So this is all organic. This is good. This is what we actually want to see.
Well, you can see there's people here that are tracking wallets, and you can go look at the UpLink liquidity pool wallet, and you'll see how fast it's getting drained every day now, that we're like constantly having to fill it up like every single day now.
Okay.
It's actually been a whole logistical problem of how to cycle it and refill it fast enough to meet the demand.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great problem to have. And for those of you wondering, where's like the big buy and burn? And the answer is, we're eking these things out there. What we've learned is that by doing that, it doesn't really support the overall health of the token. It just allows sort of bots to game us, right? So we're slowly driving this out, right? So we're doing so in a way that is supportive of the community and the token health, as opposed to trying to create a big marketing event out of it. So we tried that. We don't think it worked. We learned. We improved. Simple.
But what happens is, because when you have a consolidation of a few very large whales in your project,
right?
If you do like singular large buy and burn events, those whales will just immediately sell into it and just crush it right back down. Like you really need organic demand from a whole bunch of people in order to keep this kind of statistical growth over time, and to augment the volume, right? And that's why I keep telling about it. It's all about trading volume, right? You need like a lot of market participants to get involved. And this is why I've been scrambling to get this connection between FAIT and UpLink and Burning AI together, that loop. It's going to tap into a 250,000 people, right? That loop is going to tap into 250,000 people and ask them to start buying and burning AI. That's a big deal. That's going to vastly increase the number of market participants in AI. This is why it's critical for us to finish this. I've been scrambling to get this done. I was hoping to get it done for today, but it's like just running a little bit behind. So
I think that there was another part. I don't know if this is for like the merchant side of things, but I don't know if you had mentioned it, but when transactions are going through, it would end up doing an auto burn, or would it still be like an accumulation, then like a burn event, or would it just do it like automatically?
So it doesn't call the burn. There's actually a burn function call, which basically all it does on the contract is send it to the null address. We're putting a middleman in there so you can kind of see what's going on. So it goes to a special burn wallet that is an address, and then we can burn it on a schedule that we see makes sense, rather than everybody just immediately sending it to the null address. That makes sense.
Okay.
So,
but you do.
The burn wallet is, I think we exposed the address of that at some point. I'm sure there's people tracking it. The last fuel burn events, we've seen the AI tokens go to that wallet. So,
okay. All right. That was actually another question I was just going to ask about, like a burn event. So I guess let's wait and see what happens with this new system in place with FAIT, and then using AI tokens. And yeah, you definitely don't want to inflate the price and then watch people dump onto there. Been there, done that.
Right. We're very careful about
Yeah,
that.
that's
Right.
that's
We've gotten
complete
better.
waste of time. You'll see it go straight up and then straight back down. Like it's a complete waste of time.
You're like, well, what just happened? Right.
Okay. So on that, lastly, uplink though, a lot of people are starting to use it. That's a good sign, right? A lot more people.
Lots.
So you're actually that's like a stress test also, right? It's like you got to figure out new things as things kind of come up. But there will also be more projects being on uplink.
We got a few really big ones coming up that,
Mhm.
that
And
are
on that
awesome.
note,
Like they're not tokens in themselves. They are companies that run multiple tokens, right? So they have multiple
Right.
different organizations and tokens involved with them. These are the types of clients who are signing up now.
There's something else too. It's not like flipping a light switch where you bring on a project, they put their token on uplink, and off to the races you go, right? So it does take time to sort of ramp up over time, because a lot of these projects are going to go into marketing, and a lot of them are actually releasing new features in the metaverse or new areas in the metaverse and so on. Every single uplink client is releasing some either new product or a massive addition to an existing one. Right. That's part of the reason that they jumped on uplink, because the way they look at it is they've got this cool new thing and they want to sort of make it available to as many new crypto buyers as possible. So the idea is that they simultaneously put uplink onto the app or website and then also release, right? So you're going to see that big wave. Most of the wave that we're seeing right now is actually us selling things like BNB, for example, or AI to folks. And there's been a massive uptick. We're talking 600% from, let's say, 2 months ago. I mean, huge numbers now starting to come in relative to where we were. Still small in the grand scheme of things. We're no Coinbase for sure, but we're actually starting to see that that rise, and we're super excited about that.
Which is also still kind of interesting due to the market conditions, right? That's also interesting to see. People are still.
But where the projects start to pick up, like where they start to release these metaverses and they really start to market, that's going to really turbocharge uplink. Right now, we're in the slow growth phase. We haven't hit the fast growth phase yet, not even close. But when we do, look out.
Okay. I like it. Let's end it on that note. That's a nice positive note to end it on. All right. No market talk. We're going to be positive on this. I see everybody.
We'll save that for when the market's better.
Stuff. We'll leave that for another time.
No problem.
All right.
Institutions are buying. I'll leave it at that. They are buying. We are seeing that they are buying the dip. That's a good sign.
All right. Let's end it on that one. Guys,
Cool.
Thanks for joining again. Will, let's get this stuff done, man. You just opened up like a whole nother crazy environment that I really hope people that are listening that understand what's about to happen here. Like this is, again, from the very start, this is the definition of FOMO right here. So there's big stuff about to happen. Pay attention. All right. Let's end it there. Guys, thanks for joining. Hang in there.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.